You're in the Business Insurance Zone with me, Steve Savant, national financial columnist and financial color commentator. We're at the Georgia Dome for the NCAA Finals. Our salute to March Madness and our Final Four product review. And featured on today's show, long-term care insurance with nationally recognized long-term care expert, Steve Foreman.
When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.
Well, welcome to our special event. The Business Insurance Zone goes live virtually on location at the Georgia Dome. And we're broadcasting not only to a nationwide audience of financial advisors, but we're also pushing this out on one of our biggest email blasts embedded video of all time, somewhere around 500,000 advisors. And I want to welcome to our show, our final show of this whole week in our tribute to March Madness, the #1 authority on long-term care, Steve Foreman. Hey, Steve, welcome to the show.
It's good to be here.
I'm glad you're here. And let me tell you something, just so I don't forget. About another 30 days from now, Steve's going to come on and do a complete long-term care series. We're going to have him on our television program as well as the Business Insurance Zone. You won't want to miss it. If you're thinking about coming into our business, especially if you're coming out of medical insurance after Obamacare, that show could be for you. Long-term care may be your transition from the medical field over to long-term care. Could be the way to go. Steve, we're talking about today some of the best carriers that are out there. And before we get into your picks, and we'll probably do that in the second segment if we get that far, I want to talk to you about long-term care as a major senior issue. We're always talking about retirement. I get that.
Right.
We tell everybody about Social Security, understood.
Yeah.
We always go through the Medicare, Medicaid ideas at 65, trying to help our clients.
Right.
But I don't know if we're doing a good job on long-term care, one of the biggest defensive planning tactics we could be involved in.
Right. You know, a good way to start is to reframe the entire conversation. Instead of talking about long-term care, maybe we could get agents to reframe the conversation as extended care. And that may get their prospects to stop and say, wait a minute, extended care? I thought I knew what long-term care was. I don't know what extended care is. Great. Perfect opportunity to ask that question. I don't know what extended care is. And then you can say extended care. It's not a place. It's not where you receive care. It's not a location. Extended care is something different. Extended care is a life-changing event that can cause catastrophic consequences for you and your family, and the ability for you to maintain the financial promises you made into retirement. It's a great segue into changing from what has traditionally been a risk-based conversation using statistics to sell into changing it into a consequences-based conversation where we can now start to talk to people who don't have any prior experience and may be willing to engage in that conversation.
Now, there are so many carriers, and we're doing a show, this is our third annual show on March Madness on our Final Four product review. When we're looking at this, I mean, I want to be a little kudos. There are some big career shops that are involved. Mass Mutual,
Sure.
the Northwestern, the Guardian,
New York Life.
Sure. These are all players out there, and with the exception, I think, of New York Life, which does, I think, allow you to go into brokerage. I think the rest of them are pretty much confined to their own proprietary field force.
By and large.
Now, that being said, again, we're just giving our kudos. We're trying to say we looked at everything, but we still believe, by and large, the actual carriers that are out in the brokerage market are probably the ones that are going to be looked at. And there's some big names we're going to be talking about today. Now,
Sure.
When we look at this, and I know that, Steve, you wrote a huge blog on this about spreadsheeting long-term care policies, because it's such a misnomer going into it. Talk a little bit about that, because everybody's ranking everything on the basis of those spreadsheets.
I'm not a big fan of spreadsheeting, and it began, I don't want to name names. I will. We all have used Stratasys, Vital LTC, but it began before that. It began with Excel. Anytime you could start comparing prices. But I think that's a bad idea because you live by price, you die by price. And I think that it reduces the value of what we do because then it turns long-term care into a commodity, and we're enrollers, we're order takers, and it devalues the product that we sell. We should be doing needs-based selling, looking at our clients, determining what their needs are, using underwriting to determine the carrier, and designing a solution that fits their needs. So spreadsheeting, I don't think, is a great idea, and it reduces innovation in the industry because then carriers, they can't come out with innovative ideas because if it doesn't fit the spreadsheet, producers won't sell it. So I don't think it's a terrific idea.
Well, that means that we have to talk, when we talk about in the second half of our show today, when we talk about this, we're not just doing raw base policy comparisons on an Excel spreadsheet.
No.
We're actually going ahead and saying, Steve's making the call. He's the number one authority in the United States on LTC. He's going to be making the call. Here are the 4 major players that we play with. Now remember, each one will have their little place to play. They'll have their niche.
But it won't be based on price.
But it won't be based on price. So normally we can go ahead and if you saw our Tuesday show on term, that's totally easy to understand. It is what it is. The spreadsheets work. But when we're talking about value issues like yesterday's show on disability and today's show on long-term care, we really need to look at the value proposition. But because we have experts on today with Steve, we can go ahead and say these are the 4 players, and these guys are day in and day out. They own about 80% of the market share,
right.
but when you think about that, that's colossal. So when we're talking about value, we're talking about spreadsheets and Excel grids and all these things we're talking about. We're going to try to price in a little value today because this show's a little different because we're in morbidity land, and we will not be talking about LTC linked products next segment because we're really segregating that out. Maybe I'll do a whole week show on here are all the players, here's all the mortality riders that are offered. But if you catch our show that we're going to be doing in about 30 days, we're going to keep our Friday show for the most controversial show, and that show will be super controversial because we're going to compare long-term care standalone policies to LTC linked riders on morbidity chassis. And I know the howling will begin. I know it. I'm just saying it now. But it's going to be controversial because we have a view on that may be counterintuitive to the market. Now, Steve, before we leave for the break, tell me what you think. If you see something, you said big changes are coming here pretty soon.
Yes, the big change coming. Look for it this year is going to be gender-based pricing, where men pay men's rates, women pay women's rates, and actually it's going to be, it should deliver more stability in long-term care and should lead to less rate increases in the future.
Wow, that could change the planet. After the break, we're going to continue listing the top LTC carriers and rank the final 4 with Steve Foreman. And don't forget to enroll in IULUniversity.com for the best training, education, and sales support when it comes to life insurance for retirement income.
You're listening to the insurance industry's #1 resource for products, planning ideas, carrier information, and interviews you can use. When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.
Did you know the average 401k runs out of money just 7 to 8 years into retirement? Time Magazine, the Wall Street Journal, and many other publications have warned of the difficulty of saving with a 401k. But what if there was a way to create tax-free lifetime retirement income with no stock market risk? Good news, there is.
Living in fear of the next market dive is not the way I want to live my life.
Why would I go out there and take on risk when I don't need to?
I have a lot less stress knowing I can't lose any more of my retirement savings in the stock market.
Call now to receive your free, no-obligation analysis of what this retirement vehicle could do for you, a comparison to your current retirement plan, and a free video that explains this exciting opportunity. Start planning a retirement you can enjoy instead of worrying about future tax increases and stock market losses. Creating income that will last your entire life is the most important thing you'll ever do. Take control of your future. Call now for your free analysis, comparison, and video.
Well, welcome back to the Business Insurance Zone, and we're at the Georgia Dome for the NCAA Finals. Our salute to March Madness and our Final 4 product review. I'm Steve Savant with Steve Foreman, and remember, you can sign up on our homepage and order today's materials at our website, thebiz.tv. That's thebiz.tv. And just a heads up, before moving forward with anything that we talk on the show, especially when it comes to taxes and things of that nature, always consult your tax advisor as well as your broker-dealer compliance officer. We're talking about LTC insurance with Steve Foreman as part of our tribute to March Madness, the Final 4 product review. And we're about ready to reveal, Steve, the #1 authority in LTC, your 4 picks. Yes. Well, actually, not quite 4. He had a tie for 4.
I may have a tie.
All right, go ahead.
What I was going to say is, we were talking about spreadsheeting before and how it can't always come down to price because last year's price leader may be next year's price leader. And I have this theory that every carrier may be just one bad product away from being last year's price leader. So one of the reasons why I've chosen these carriers that I have is that I always think when it comes to long-term care, where the rubber meets the road is claims. Who pays at claims time? And I have a feeling that's the same way it is with life and disability. So one of the reasons I've chosen these carriers is they are great claims payers. We talked before about the rating agencies. What does an A tell you, or an A plus or an A minus? I don't think one of the things they don't really tell you is who's great at service, who's great at servicing your claim, who's great at working with. These are all great claims payers. So we know what it's like as agents to work with these companies behind the scenes. That translates on the front end as well with your clients. So these are great companies to work with, and really, dream companies to work with at claims. So that's where we're going to start our conversation.
All right, so let's go from the bottom to top. So let's take your.
Okay.
He's got 2 tied for 4th place.
Sure.
Who are those carriers?
Sure. So tied for 4th out of a universe, by the way, that includes about 20 active long-term care carriers. I'm going to say MedAmerica and Transamerica. Now, both of these companies, MedAmerica is a company you're going to want to include in your portfolio because when everybody's selling apples, you want to be able to sell an orange. And they're the one carrier that's really making a big name by selling cash. Now, cash is king. You can use it anywhere. You can use it internationally. Pays for anything. You don't have to worry about what will they be using. What will be the assisted living in 2030? Can I pay friends or family? And MedAmerica has a great worksite program when a lot of carriers are still retrenching from that market. Transamerica has shown great commitment. They're an Aegon company, another great worksite program. It's called their Business Advantage program. They've said we're not going to compete on price. They're a great, everybody knows the Transamerica pyramid, great brand, great servicing company, great commitment to long-term care.
Well, when I think about it, those are 2 big names, especially Transamerica.
Yes.
But now we're going to get in some players, and I'm talking names. Who's number 3? And these are all, from now on, these are all big names in the market.
Sure. Number 3, I'm going to go with a company that a lot of agents have had questions about, but I've worked with this company closely for about a decade, and that's John Hancock. Now, they've actually been in long-term care. They just celebrated their 25th anniversary in long-term care.
Who else is that long?
Yeah, well, MedAmerica spent
MedAmerica,
25 years, but
Okay.
John Hancock's 25th anniversary in long-term care, 150th anniversary as a company. John Hancock, stellar ratings, beautiful company to work with, and although their last product out, again, because it's not easy to spreadsheet, but this Custom Care 3 Youth Benefit Builder, it's a product that is designed to return benefits to the client on market upside. Difficult to spreadsheet, so carriers, producers have had difficulty adopting it, finding the niche where to sell it, but they're committed to long-term care. They believe in the market, they believe in the demographic, they believe private long-term care will have a role to play, and so they're being innovative, and they should be applauded for that.
I have to say, one of the big things I love about John Hancock is it has a really good newsletter, or actually I should say magazine, called Central Intelligence. I don't read too many carriers' docs because actually they're not worth reading. That's one of them that reads. Johnny Hancock's a big player in LTC, and of course they're playing on our side over on the mortality side as well.
Yes.
Now let's talk about your number 2. And wow, these are names now. We're going to be dropping names now from now on.
Yeah, Mutual of Omaha, everybody knows the Wild Kingdom, and they have a huge, I think something like 99 out of 100 people know Mutual of Omaha, the name. They're big in endorsements. I think USA Swimming, and I think they're in tennis. But
Steve, check it out. These guys are running reruns of Marlon Perkins
Yeah.
back in the day, and it's number 1 in the Animal Planet.
Right. So, but endorsements don't sell, but they make your job easier because
Right.
you don't have to come in and explain who the brand is. But besides that, the product is terrific. They have a cash alternative benefit, and the product wasn't always the most state of the art, but now that they have their assured solutions, their cash first, they have cash alternative benefits. They have a few things that are built into every plan, like monthly benefits, first day for home care. So the product is very easy to sell and extremely competitive. And again, a company that they've said it's a core product. One of the difficulties I find with, I don't want to say all the mutuals, but one of the questions is this just a complement for their career force? Is it something that they think can be a flash in the pan, or is it a core product? With Mutual of Omaha, they've said long-term care is a core product, which is a key in making a decision who you want to work with.
How about your number 1?
My number 1 has been everyone's number 1 for the last decade, and that's been Genworth. They own probably 20 to 30% of the market share,
Wow.
and for good reason, because they're the granddaddy, the gold standard, been around for 30 years, have more experience than anybody, and they're a terrific company to work with, committed to the market, and a claims payer. They pay something like $2 to $3 million a day in claims.
Those are your rankings. Genworth, number 1. Remember, you can watch our entire week's show on March Madness. Just go out to our website at thebiz.tv. Just sign in at our homepage, and guess what? That's the Buzz on the Biz for this week. You've been in the zone, the Business Insurance Zone.
You're listening to the insurance industry's #1 resource for products, planning ideas, carrier information, and interviews you can use. When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.